That was the Plaid Assembly member, Helen Mary Jones, and joining me here in the studio is the former Welsh Secretary, Peter Hain. Thank you for joining us tonight. You're on record as saying that 2011 is not the right time for a referendum. Do you stand by that?
I do. That's what I told Parliament in taking the 2006 Act through, which provides for primary powers, which I support. And I want to see a referendum called when we can win it, and then I will be an active campaigner for it as I was last time. But I do not see any demand for it now. People are concerned about their losing their homes, they're concerned about their mortgages, they're concerned about their jobs, about small businesses, and that's what the government, far from letting people down in Westminster, as Helen Mary Jones asserted, it is our Labour government in Westminster that is providing people with the support that they need to get through this difficult global crisis. That's what is on their minds now.
The point that Helen Mary Jones was making was that the Assembly and the Assembly government needs to have this constitutional situation cleared up so they can get on with that job. Is that a fair point?
But I don't think that's the case. The Assembly government is getting enormous powers under the first stage of the 2006 Act.
It is confusing and complicated, isn't it?
I don't think it's any more confusing than a first reading that isn't one in the House of Commons, a second reading that isn't a reading is a debate, a committee stage that's then followed by a report stage where you can move the same amendments as you could in the committee stage, and then a third reading that is a debate and not a reading. It's no more complicated than that, and it is delivering very substantial powers, and I think the Assembly's legislative capacity needs to bed down. They need to make sure that these powers are properly utilised, and then we see where we are. And I think that'll take some years, and when the time is right and there is a demand, as there certainly isn't now, to move for a referendum, I'll be supporting it.
What about the point that could be seen as a defeatist attitude? In other words, that now is the time to start. You believe in it.
I was one of the leaders of this only successful referendum campaign in Wales.
Why not start building support for another referendum?
Because I see no basis for the kind of support...
But you can build the basis, that's the point.
You cannot build the basis of support when in a vacuum. I see nothing around me. None of my constituents, with the exception of Bethan Jenkins, who is one, are coming to me and saying they want a referendum soon. What they're saying, they're coming to me and they're saying they're concerned about their jobs and their houses and their businesses, and how can we help as a Labour government and, for that matter, a Welsh Assembly government. So I think people's minds are furthest away from this than probably they have ever been in recent times.
You also heard the view of Russell Goodway, one of your Labour colleagues. It's true, isn't it, that the real opposition to any referendum is within Labour rather than within the population at large?
I don't accept that. You know, Labour won the referendum in 1997. It was a Labour government, a Labour party that backed that referendum, and there were debates in the months and years before. You could feel the whole basis for it bubbling up, and that's why I set up the Yes for Wales campaign, and by the way, against the wishes and without the support of some leading Plaid members at the time in 1996 when I helped to set it up. So what I'm concerned about is not arguments about the principle. I'm in favour of the principle of full lawmaking powers. It's the timing, and I do not want us to be involved in an artificial debate with all sorts of posturing going on, when actually what we need to do is work on the issues that are confronting people now, jobs, housing and so on, then move on to say, make the system work under the first stage, and then we can go on to the final stage.
You call it an artificial debate. We've made the point that it's kind of an abstract issue, and yet it is a very real issue for
it's a chattering class issue.
It's very real to the people in Plaid Cymru who feel that this is something essential that they want to see. It's also very real for people like Russell Goodway, who say that the majority, and he uses the word the bulk of Labour voters, don't want a referendum.
Well, I actually agree with Ian Wyn-Jones on this. I want to see a referendum when we can win it. And I believe that those people who never actually really wanted an assembly in the first place are in a tiny minority, not just in the country but in Welsh Labour. When the timing is right, as I do not believe it will be for the next few years, I think we need, as I say, to move on. At that stage, I think you'll get a Welsh Labour Party campaigning in a united way as we did in 1997.
Russell Goodway feels that at this moment, the coalition agreement, and that agreement is clearly there, is pushing Welsh Labour members into a campaign that they don't want to be part of. Is that a concern? Do you think that the Labour group in the Assembly has signed the Labour Party up to something it doesn't support?
No, I don't feel any pressure from the Labour Assembly group, nor when I was Secretary of State from ministers for this. I think we're in this together, Welsh AMs, Welsh MPs and the party at large. We are the party that is the only party that's ever delivered devolution, and when the timing is right, we'll deliver the next stage.
If you're all in it together and you share this this view, does that mean that the Labour group under Rhodri Morgan might be trying to wriggle out of a commitment that is in black and white in the One Wales government?
No, that's an aspiration.
It's a commitment.
Well, of course, but the point is that, as Ian Wynne-Jones himself has said, if you can't deliver a yes vote in 2011 or before, as the agreement provides for, then there's no point in doing it. So, that's fine, an aspiration, an agreement, call it what you will. I am interested not in posing and posturing. I'm interested in real politics and real delivery. We delivered a referendum yes last time. I helped to do that. I'm willing to be part of it next time, but not to be stampeded into one that I think will be lost, because that would be tragic and set back the cause of full lawmaking powers in which I support for a generation or more.
Do you think, therefore, that a referendum will happen at 2011 or before, or if not, when?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any case for it. There's no evidence that it would be won before then. And I do not see any argument for calling it on the same day as the Assembly elections, when you have then people who are fighting each other on the doorstep as parties actually allegedly working together to deliver a yes vote. It simply wouldn't work.
Peter Hain, thank you very much. From
Thank you.
Abstract and Artificial Rose, kept us going for quite a while, hasn't it? Peter Hain, thank you very much.